On this episode of Joe Cachapalia talks about building a shipping container home and tiny homes, although no tiny homes this time. Going to talk a little bit about getting our land prepped and some more updates on the foundation issues or the issues getting the foundation plan done. It's really bordering on comical at this point. But first, let's just take a little look at the land. I just took a little bit of video. We were out there. I don't know if you remember the video from, it's been over a month now, but there was a whole bunch of brush and fallen trees and just all sorts of stuff. I think we've already taken out, I don't know, probably 6 or 7 piles about this big. Also, a bunch of loads of trash. This area had just sort of been a spot some people were dumping here. And then just it has nobody's been on this really used this land for a very long time, and so just piles of there's actually broken concrete, different construction material, a bunch of rusty metal, a lot more stuff than I thought. Once we got it all cleaned out, um, I think that it's looking pretty nice, and it was actually a lot more obvious why the architect picked the spot where he did to put the containers, because there weren't really any big trees there. There was a lot of smaller stuff and limbs, but nothing that even actually qualified for a tree on our tree survey. If you look at all these little white ribbons, each one of these is just they each have a number on it, and on our tree survey we can actually look at it and see. Oh, I just stopped that short there. And you can see where on our little survey each one of those trees is located, and you can look at the number that's on the ribbon. Thought that was kind of interesting. I haven't really seen a tree survey be used before. Most of the actual development projects I've worked on have been in cities, or on flat vacant land. And as I've mentioned, this is the first one I'm doing myself, but I have been involved in quite a few, either as an employee or some sort of consultant in different roles. Um, anyway, I think this is cleaning up really nicely. It's a little bit more obvious, although this camera guy is terrible. This is me. Um, but it's more obvious now how much of a drainage issue there is on the site. But this back corner is pretty high up, and this is where we're going to put the home. We talked about doing a little path out to the road, and possibly even doing a bridge over the part that's most clearly flooding when it rains. But I talked to the neighbors quite a bit, and they said when there's a lot of rain, it will come through here real quick, but it doesn't really stay. And so I don't know that it's going to be that big of an issue, but it is something we want to address because again, I'm going to have guests staying here. This is going to be used as a short-term rental, but so like the water comes from right about here and crosses through this way. Where I'm standing, um, actually, and I think this might be the back corner of it is where the containers are actually going to be built. And I say that like I know with some certainty, but we're still having some issues, as I mentioned, with the foundation plan. I had done a video a week or two ago about they had sent us a plan that had you know a bunch of extra of these ground screws over here, and then not one under here too, which was this is a deck. But then we have a huge deck here and they put no supports on it. And so this to me seemed like it was clearly an issue, and there was no support under the container here, or here. And so, I had sent them these little notes back, and we don't have the support. What's going on here? Um, why do we need four on this end? I thought this was clear, but then we got back this next version. So they added a screw here, which is there's nothing here. There's not even structure. So that was funny. They did take away those two, but there was nothing here, and they had one here. And then they still left one um, underneath the deck, which to me just seemed really odd. And so actually after I sent them this diagram and an email kind of explaining what the issue was, because I don't actually deal with the person that makes the plan. There's like sort of a go-between in their company. But after I sent them this, we actually got two versions back, which neither of them addressed the issue. So it got pretty frustrating. I did let my builder talk directly um, to the person who's actually working in CAD and making those plans. We got one more wrong one back after that, which was just mind blowing. And so I put this together last night where I just put yellow dots where me and the builder agree they need to be. It makes the most sense based on where the containers actually are. And so, they already told us we can do three on this end. Well, if that's what we can do here, it seems there's just no reasonable explanation why we can't just do three on this end. And certainly there's no reason for ground screw support for the deck. And, what we're actually going to support the decks with are these little like cement footings or piers that my contractor will actually do on site. It won't be, you don't put the ground screws are expensive to buy. They're also expensive to they're, I guess they're not really expensive to install, but it's the timing of it. And so we're trying to keep that to a minimum. Um, and so by doing this plan, we're actually eliminating this one. We're eliminating this one because they already had one here. And then this last one, we would just move to there. And so there'd be like a small overhang of the container. But these things are made out of steel beams and they're meant to be able to overhang. I mean, this is just a 3 foot overhang. And they let us do it on this side. Um, so it just seems absurd that we can't do it over here too. Uh, but the big thing is we're getting pretty close now. They said they should have this version back today, so hopefully we're all on the same page and that issue will be done. This is really, if we actually get one of these back, and we had even talked, me and my contractor talked today about if we can't get a right one back, just going with this, just putting a ground screw under the deck. Because at this point, more delays just doesn't make sense. Each of these are expensive, but we're really just getting rid of two more at this point. And it seems like at this point there's just overkill. There's nothing that's not supported anymore, like there had been at one point in time. Um, so I think we're getting close. I think we're getting there. But this has just been a really mind-blowing process to see. Uh, maybe my explanations and diagrams that I send back are just not as clear. I'm really not sure. I don't know what's been going on, but I think we're getting there. And hopefully next week I'll have an update that we have our final foundation plan, that our permit's been issued, uh, and that we're getting ready to move things. That's what I'm hoping. That's about all. My whole update for today. Am really glad to see how nicely the land is looking. Um, Met the neighbor. He seemed pretty excited actually that somebody was building next to him, which is good. Anytime, I think you're doing sort of an interesting project or you're filling up vacant land with neighbors, they're not always happy to see you. Happy that you're there and doing that. So uh, that was good news. So I was supposed to tell you in the beginning, but please like, subscribe, and comment. All of you that are watching to the end, I really appreciate it. But I'm going to start trying to remember to remind people early. I really appreciate everybody who is watching these, who's providing the feedback. One thing, I think we're going to have some bigger steps in the construction process to show. I'm hoping to video when we put the containers on the land. I did talk about how my contractor kept telling me he was going to put them all out there with a big forklift. Yesterday, when we were on the site, he finally backpedaled on that and said, no, we really need to use a crane. Um, I had thought this all along. He says he's still confident he could do it with a forklift, but we just shouldn't take the risk. And I completely agree with that. It is a little more expensive, but it should be faster, and it should also make it so we don't have to cut down as many trees because the way we can move the containers with a crane, we're going to have a lot more maneuverability. And I'm trying to keep as many of these as I can. Right now, with in the wintertime and not as many trees. It doesn't look quite the same as it did when I bought it in the or started looking at it last summer and ended up buying it in the fall. Um, but I think it's a nice wooded lot, and so I don't want to change that. Um, anyway, that's all I've got for you today. Like I said, hopefully next week I'll have a better update for you. Also, an update on the tiny home. There's really nothing going on with that. I was supposed to get plans for that Wednesday, but I'm going to get them next Wednesday now. So until next time, I will keep making mistakes so you don't have to.